spliff. I love that. Okay. So I realize oh, alcohol's forbidden where you live? Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. Not that I really drink, but like if it was forbidden, I would really want to drink, you know? Get it? Because we want what we can't have. Woo! It's actually for real. All right. Yeah, that's literally like why the prohibition era was like such a thing. People, when they're restricted, you know, doesn't just apply to food. Okay, welcome to training number 3. I'm so honored for you all to join me today. I can't believe we're here. A quick reminder, please, please, please come to the mindset class tomorrow. I know that for those of you who are abroad, if you're watching this delayed, I'm going to send out emails about it, but the mindset class is really one that you don't want to miss. And it's obviously at a different time. So if the timing doesn't work out, like I completely get it, but also, you know, Saturday is like, what else are you doing? So come hang out with me. I'm teaching like mindset tricks that are so necessary that I end up teaching pretty much everyone that I work with, just because, yeah, as you all know, without the mindset, like, what's the deal? You know, what are we doing? Because the mindset really is the whole thing here. And that's like what I'm trying to get across. Not about the food. It's not about anything else. It is truly about the mind and your self-image and your beliefs. 12 p.m. PST on Saturday. So noon, 5 hours before right now, but tomorrow. So that's happening tomorrow. Also, I will be talking at the end of this call about like next steps and stuff. And yeah, we'll just stick around to the end. And we're going to try to get you out on time today because I know the last few calls have been going over, but this one's going to be a little bit shorter. But yeah, tomorrow's call is going to be really amazing. So I hope you all join me in that. So for a recap, or anyone who's tuning in for the first time, if you are, oh, your family, that's okay. You can just like watch it right after. I'll send out the replay pretty much immediately, or go into the Facebook group and watch it. Anyway, so welcome to call number 3. Today, I'm giving away my step-by-step process for food freedom. Now, it's very interesting because this step-by-step process is something that I developed over the course of the past 2.5 years working with clients. I used to, and we're going to talk about like the differences between intuitive eating and food freedom. I used to have like a general progression of things that I worked on with people, and I've been kind of in development with all of this, but then realized recently that and the way that I'm going to explain it today is brand new. This is something that I developed, you know, within the past 2 months, because I realized that growth patterns from phases of like hypervigilance and in like protection and safety mode, like we talked about in week 1, to stability and security and safety within yourself, and then building from that place instead, they all follow kind of a similar pathway. So this is a similar progression. It's obviously different, but this is a similar progression that I use for things like overworking and, you know, feeling like you always have to be successful or be productive in order to be worthy. So things when it comes to like self-worth belief systems and healing compulsive behaviors, whatever they are, and I'm not talking about like compulsive behaviors in the sense of, I mean, it actually is a little bit helpful because I have used it with my clients with OCD. But I also want to just put out a disclaimer that the way that I work with people with who are neurodivergent, who have, you know, ADHD or OCD, I've only worked with one person who was on the autism spectrum, but I myself have executive functioning challenges, so, which is great. My assistant is like the best for that. Why am I telling you this? Anyway, so I'm somewhat familiar with it, but the way that I work is really just like, yeah, I know, you know, sometimes what happens when we get a diagnosis is it's really, really helpful because it helps explain what we're experiencing. So we don't feel so like weird or abnormal. You're like, oh, has a name and it's awesome. And you can get some help and you get specialists and all these things. And one of the things that can happen though, is that when you go to certain providers or work with certain people, they only see you through the lens of your diagnosis. And so the way that I go about it is I'm like, you tell me what you're experiencing. I'm never going to assume what you're experiencing. So if you are diagnosed with OCD, I'm never going to assume what you experience or how you experience it. What I'm going to do is just listen to the experiences that you have and unpack it. And I'm of the mindset that like, your mindset can change and you can learn to like cope with these things differently, and the way that you relate to the way that your brain works, the way that you relate to the way that your body works changes. So that's the whole premise of this, is we're changing, not our bodies, obviously. We're not even changing, like, we're not even fixing ourselves. We're not fixing food. We're not fixing our habits and whatever. That's a happy side effect, right? In the same way that these are symptoms, the fact that these heal themselves, that's side effects. What we're doing is we're going underneath it all, and we're changing the way that you relate to yourself across the board, which is why when I say food freedom, you know, blends into every area of your life, I really mean it. So yeah, that's just a little starter info. Let me pull up my Facebook comments so I don't miss them. I just realized I didn't have them up. Okay. So just as a recap, if anyone's tuning in for the first time, my name is Whitney Catalano. I'm a registered dietitian. I've been working in food freedom for a couple of years now, and I am going to be working more in like leadership coaching as well, over work burnout cycles, things of that nature. So kind of expanding my work, doing sort of business coaching. So the way that I see it is like a bunch of us who struggle with food freedom or just food stuff and body image stuff and weight and self-worth. A lot of us are destined for, I believe, this is not based in science, it's my belief system, and it can be wrong. I'm okay with that. But one of my beliefs is that those of us who really struggle with perfectionism and overworking and getting our worth from the things that we do or the way that we look or whatever, yes, it's because of the trauma we experienced, but I also have this belief that, you know, all the ways that you don't fit in, all the ways that you've been trying to like change yourself to fit in, these things can be your superpower, and you can use them to be like, feel wildly successful and fulfilled and happy in your life, and empower yourself to really like create the life that you want. But first you have to heal the fear of rejection, right? And so I always say that, like, if you have never felt like you fit in, if you have always wanted to like change yourself to go with the status quo or be someone that you like your parents are going to be proud of or whatever, it's not like, that's just not your destiny. If that feels like the most difficult thing that you've dedicated your entire life to, changing yourself and trying to fit in, if that is like painful for you and you resist and you rebel it, good. I want you to rebel against it. I want you to resist it, because in that is beauty. And when you learn to use it, when you learn to use the things that you don't like about yourself for your superpower, right? Everything can change. And that's the same reason, like, a lot of us have a problem with emotional boundaries, right? Y'all are naturally, you know, it's like, oh, I'm an empath who, you know, has terrible boundaries. Or you don't know boundaries because you're using your intuitive senses to try to get people to like you and accept you and, you know, earn your worth, right? And when you own your worth instead, boundaries are quite easy, because guess what? When you don't have boundaries, it's the most draining thing ever. And then you can actually, you know, if you want to, turn your intuitive nature and the things that you've been through into a career or into your passions or just into like a platform, a voice. So that's kind of where I'm headed next in my work, is like continuing to do this stuff in a capacity, and then also having that next stage of like, if you want to turn it into, you know, being a real successful, like, just living your freaking truth, let me know. keep following me, okay? All right, that's enough preamble. Here is what we learned this week. For those of you who didn't catch all of week or episode, video 1 and 2, episode 1 and 2, that's fine. These things are all symptoms. Like I said, emotional eating, overeating, hyper focus on body image, all of this stuff is a symptom. It's a sign that you are in a lot of fight or flight. You're stressed. You are sitting on unhealed beliefs and trauma that are just shaking up everything. And you're perpetually running from your fears. Ironically enough, when you run from your fears, you actually run towards your fears because all you're focusing on is your fears and your problems. So in order to heal that, you actually have to like heal the fears, like confront them, so that you stop unconsciously running to them and you can change directions and be like, wait, no, this path is different. So like I said, symptoms, these are also a gift, okay? This is a gift. That's what I want you to take away from this, is like all of this stuff that you hate, all of this stuff that you fight in yourself, it's a gift, all right? So in the same context of like fears, you know, we run towards them. Dieting does the opposite of what you want it to in every capacity. You know, I was reflecting on on call number 2, and I couldn't help but laugh because one of the number one things that people said, or what you all said that you wanted, was more energy. Isn't it ironic that we restrict our bodies of literal energy and then expect that to give us more energy? Like, it just doesn't actually make sense when you think about it. But here we are. So diet culture is real sneaky that way. And yeah, it's just a lot of things that we need to like step outside of and rethink and change the narrative around it, at least in ourselves, if not, you know, in our circles. Okay. What is food freedom really? And we're going to talk about food freedom for versus intuitive eating right now. So food freedom is really healing your need for control and approval. Okay. It's mind, body, and life freedom. I kind of just said all of this. It's taking it one step further. All right. So what is intuitive eating versus food freedom? Let's just start with that before I get into the step-by-step process with food. So intuitive eating is a book. It's written by 2 registered dietitians, Evelyn Tribole and Elise Resch. They're clinical dietitians. I think in like the 90s, they had a weight loss practice together. And because I mean, every dietitian had a weight loss practice before all of this. So they had a weight loss practice together in the 90s. They realized that their clients, even though their clients like might have been seeing short-term results in terms of weight loss and, you know, changing their food behaviors and stuff, what they realized is that long-term, these clients were, you know, not losing weight and not changing their behaviors, and actually like overeating or emotional eating were getting worse and worse and worse. And you know, all of the side effects that we discussed on Wednesday. So what they did was they looked very closely at the research, because weight science has been showing us that diets don't work for 70 years, 80 years. Like, it's literally, this isn't new research. This doesn't, this wasn't just discovered. There we go. So they looked closely at the research and they were like, oh my God, we were taught everything all wrong. Like, why, what? You know, it's that moment of like, but I went to school for this and like they lied. I had that moment. I was like, but I wrote essays on wheat and epidemics and like, what? You know? And so when you actually look at the research, that's what it says. So they wrote intuitive eating. Now, intuitive eating is a 10-step process. It is a really useful process. It's helpful. It's helpful for people. And if you all want to like read through it, I definitely recommend it. I personally like Christy Harrison's The Fuck It Diet. I mean, Christy Harrison's Anti-Diet, and Caroline Dooner's The Fuck It Diet. There we go. So I like those books. Personally, I also like Body Respect by Linda Bacon and Lucy Aphramore. And yeah, I like those books. I like Intuitive Eating. I think their workbook is a lot more useful than their actual book. I know they're coming out with a new edition. It's already out. I don't remember. But if you're going to buy it, I would wait until the new edition is out, because I think it's out this year if it's not already out. The reason why I don't love Intuitive Eating is because it doesn't go deep enough, in my opinion. Yeah, I'll post. Yes, but to Wednesdays, excuse me, Wednesdays notes, at the bottom of the notes, there are, I don't know, Body Positive Power by Megan Crabb, but on Wednesday's notes at the bottom under the resources page, all the books I just mentioned are listed and linked there, above the peer-reviewed research that you should proceed with caution about. So yeah. So, all right, someone just asked me that in the Facebook page. So yeah, it's all there in the resources section. Again, hesitations, proceed with caution on the actual research because it's super stigmatizing. But yeah, so these books are all available to you right now. Now, my problem with the intuitive eating book itself is one, there are some problematic parts to it that, like, the most recent edition I think is from 2011, so it makes sense, like fat phobia and how to talk about fat phobia and weight stigma and stuff. They're still kind of catching up to all of this. The second thing that I don't love about it is it doesn't go deep enough for me. I really like to go to the emotional. And while the steps are great, I have a lot of people who reach out to me and they say, okay, I read the book, I tried it, I even read the Fuck It Diet, whatever, but it's not clicking, like it's not sinking in. And that's because you're not healing the root cause, okay? If you read these books and it's still not like clicking into place, like you're still not getting it, either you're not actually putting into practice, or you have healing to do. So this is about the healing. That's my whole thing. It's about the emotional healing so that the symptoms fix themselves, right? And the healing starts from within. And it's this kind of work, like the deep exploration of your beliefs, is something that you will be able to use for your growth for literally the rest of your life. So this isn't about, like, food freedom for me is not actually about food. I just recognized that people with food and body image issues like struggle with this, but a lot of people struggle with this outside of food and body image stuff. So what food freedom is really, to me, is going underneath all of that, pulling out the root stuff and like completely changing how you show up in your life because you're not running in fear anymore. That's what food freedom is to me. Someone else is going to define it differently. I guarantee you, you could look around at all the dietitians on Instagram or all the dietitians, and you're not going to find a program like this one. You may find similar ones. I'm not the only one who thinks this way, obviously, but you're not going to find a program like this because this is just my take on it. This is, people are attracted to my work versus someone else's work for a reason, in the same way that people are attracted to someone else's work versus mine for a reason, right? This is the way that I go about it. If you like the way that I explain things, that I think about things, and if you've gotten a lot of breakthroughs over the past week, like, this is the process. I'm gonna show you the process. So, okay, now really quickly, what is health at every size? Health at every size is a weight neutral approach to medical care. And it's really a new paradigm. So what Health at Every Size is aiming to do is convert more and more providers to a weight neutral approach, meaning, like, you don't get weighed when you first get to the doctor's office. You don't have those weird conversations about, like, do you know how much weight you've gained, or, those shamey conversations, and you're not getting denied access to medical care because of your size. So Health at Every Size is really trying to one, create a safe registry. You can go to Health at Every Size or hazecommunity.org. I'll post that as well, to find providers in your area who have signed the Health at Every Size pledge. I've signed it. And Health at Every Size is really an effort to educate providers on, like, what it means to be weight neutral. All right. I don't know, but maybe you'd have to check. I don't know. Sorry. Someone just asked if they have providers listed outside the US. I was in a car accident and had a concussion. They asked me to lose weight. Yeah, so that's not Health at Every Size at all. And also, like, you should never restrict after a serious accident or injury or whatever. Like, that's, yeah. I always worry about mixing psychology and nutrition because a lot of the time the goal is somehow, if you heal your emotional scars, you'll finally lose weight. Fat people are just emotionally damaged, but you are definitely the exception. I'm digging this approach. Yeah, so this is why, okay, this is the thing. So I made a quick tangent. I made a video a couple months ago that I posted on YouTube about Noom being like, it's a diet, like, don't fall for it, because their whole thing, if you search anti-diet on Google, Noom will come up as a paid ad, okay? Their whole thing is, we're anti-diet, we're a psychological approach, but, like, lose weight, and, like, here's your 1,200 calorie diet. And you're like, what? And I've had so many people reach out to me and be like, I downloaded Noom because I thought that it was gonna help me with my relationship with food, because that's how they advertise. But it put me on a super calorie restrictive diet, like, I don't understand. And I'm like, yeah, because that's not, it's not that. So this is where it gets really tricky, because diet culture has picked up on the fact that people know that diets don't work, right? Because everyone's like fed up with like fad diets. And so it's co-opting this like healthy lifestyle language, and it's co-opting like all of these types of rhetoric and approaches that a lot of us anti-diet people use in terms of like the psychological component. And it says, you know what, this is going to unlock the weight loss. And the problem with it is that like when you're in that kind of environment, the reason why weight loss has to be separated from healing your relationship with food and doing the like deeper healing work is because you cannot be consistently reminded of the trauma of trying to lose weight every time you're doing this emotional work. Like you're going to have in the back of your mind this entire time, like, oh, this person who's helping me or this program that's helping me like wants me to lose weight still. Like I'm still not good enough in my body right now. And that's just not how I operate. Like I'm never, no. So I'm not here to perpetuate biases. I'm not here to, you know, use psychology to help you like, you know, hack your weight loss. Like, no, bodies are bodies. They fluctuate as they will. And I can't even tell you what's going to happen with your body, right? Weight Watchers changed their language. I can't tell you what's going to happen with your body. I can't tell you anything like that. All I can do is help you through the emotional, give you all the tools, and that's what it is. Oh, you all found me with that video. That's awesome. I've been getting so many hate comments about Noom. Okay, I'm getting distracted by the comments, but all right. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of hate comments about Noom because people being like, oh my gosh, like, how dare you talk about something you've never downloaded? And like, da, 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 da. I'm like, all right, relax. Like, we're going to be fine. So, all right. So, we can come back to this. Maybe we'll come back to this tomorrow. I remember a YouTuber made an intuitive eating video and it was sponsored by Noom. Yeah, I feel like I saw that. I had some friends send it to me and be like, this isn't intuitive eating. All right. We're going to come back to this if we have time at the end, like what health at every size actually looks like. But we kind of went over it Wednesday. On Wednesday, we talked about like, what are your actual goals with healing your relationship with food? Like, what are the things that you really want for your life? And that's kind of what health at every size is. Like, if you want to be able to walk up and down stairs without running out of breath, keep walking up and down the stairs until you stop running out of breath, you know, like it's just that simple. It's not, oh, first you have to do this impossible task of losing weight and keeping it off, you know, the task that you've been trying to do since you were like 8 years old. Well, do that and then come back. Let me know. Then you can have everything you want. But like until then, like, sorry, like that's what weight centric healthcare is. Weight neutral and health at every size healthcare is, oh, you want more endurance? You want to eat vegetables or something? Okay, do those things. But don't expect anything from your body. Do them because you want to do them, because they make you feel good, because whatever, it's in alignment with your values. And if you're like, yeah, but I can't just do that. I can't just do that. Like, I can't just start engaging in healthy behaviors. Like, I don't know how. Like, I don't even know what that means. Like, how do I do that without a diet? This is the process you have to go through. My 3 steps. All right. So if you look at the notes, it's much prettier in the notes, but I'm also kind of proud of this. So the 3 phases of food freedom, in my opinion. This is the steps that I take pretty much everyone through. I am going to be closing down basically, like, except with the exception of a couple of people, I'm going to be closing down my one-on-one coaching and only doing group coaching for food freedom stuff from now on, because it's just easier for me to like take people through the steps this way. And I like, you know, it's just easier to do it all at once and have the community. It's just better. It's better for you. It's better for me. Like, it's all of the above. So this is the process now. This is like it's my baby. And I didn't make it up, right? This is just something that like I noticed over the past 2.5 years of working with people, that this is the process that it generally follows. And it's pretty great, but it's also incredibly uncomfortable. So what I did in the notes is, okay, what I did in the notes, sorry, someone was commenting on my Facebook and it dinged in my ear, is I outlined the challenges, the major challenges, and then I outlined like what you're supposed to be learning. This is something that you can look through on your own time. I'm going to mention a lot of the things that I wrote in it. I might not mention everything. So if you come to tomorrow's call, I'm happy to answer any questions about certain things. Um, but yeah, this is like, I'm going to take you through the steps. I'm going to explain what goes into each step and like how it goes, and then you'll understand the notes that I made a lot better than if I just like went through and read them. So I hope that's cool. Okay. So the first step in food freedom, jumping before you're ready. So the number one thing I hear from people, oh, I'm not ready to heal my relationship with food. I'm not ready to dive into this yet. I don't think I'm ready to give up dieting, all this stuff. But you know all the information, right? You know all the different things that goes into like why you can't successfully diet long term or keep it off, and why like this isn't actually giving you anything you want. You know all the things. So what's happening when you're not ready is your brain, like we talked about on Monday, is naturally resisting change and the unknown, because this is really scary. Jumping into stage one, jumping into phase one of food freedom, absolutely terrifying. It does literally feel like you're free falling. I call it free falling because 10 out of 10 clients who go through this will email me, text me, whatever, and they'll say, I feel like I'm free falling and I don't know what to do. Can you stop it? And I'm like, nope. So it's a free fall, but what it is it's a controlled free fall, right? Because you're learning along the way that it's okay, that your eating does work itself out. But the problem, right? Problem, a gift. The problem here is that when you are free falling, you've never given yourself the chance to trust your body, right? How long have you been dieting? How long have you been trying to control your eating or trying to resist the emotions that are coming up, running away from the emotions, running away from, you know, the actual truth inside of you that something's wrong? All of that comes up in phase one, and it is messy. It feels like out of control. It feels so chaotic. It's like the scariest, most frightening. Like you want to run away and you want to hide and you want to like scream and you want to go on a diet, but you can't go on a diet. That's the funny thing about free fall, because once you've jumped, you literally, like, I'll have clients that email me and they'll say, Whitney, I really need you to give me some structure. I really need control right now. And so what I used to do is I'd be like, okay, well, I can give you some control. Well, I still kind of do this. I can give you some control. Do you want that? And I'll give them like, you know, whatever, something little. And not even a day later, I'll get an email being like, never mind any kind of control. I rebelled against it. So that's the irony about the free fall, right? Not only are you like rapidly free falling, you're also going to rebel against any of the things that you used to use to escape the discomfort, which again is a gift. So if you keep like writing your journal 20 times a day, like this is a gift, I'm learning from it, like I have to go through this. You only really have to go through this once, unless you go back to dieting or bail halfway in. Okay. If you bail in this process halfway in, oh, it's going to be icky when you come back to it, right? It's going to be gross. So just, if you're going to do it, just do it all in, because this doesn't last that long. You know what's more uncomfortable? The thing that's more uncomfortable than this like chaotic free falling is knowing everything that you know about diets, everything you know about like not honoring your self-worth, or you know, all the different ways that this shows up in your life, and continuing to live your life in fear. That's what's uncomfortable. Okay. This isn't that uncomfortable. It is in the moment, for sure. I'm not going to pretend like it's easy. It's not. It feels way more intense. The reason why this feels so scary is it's way more intense. It's very easy to get used to numbing out your life, because you know deep down that you have stuff that you need to heal and that you are living out of alignment and that you're not honoring yourself. But, oh, that's okay. I can like watch TV. I can, you know, do something else. Oh my gosh, I'm going to do this thing. Okay, I'm going to go on this diet. Like, da-da-da. Like it's really easy. That's a mild discomfort because we get used to it. We start to accept less for ourselves. And so I still don't understand what phase one is. It's free fall. I'll explain. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah. So phase one is no diet rules. It's challenging all the things you've ever learned about dieting. It's if you only exercise for your body, you're going to find out really, like, for your, not for your body's like physical health, but for to change and manipulate your body, you're going to find out really quickly that you have a lot of resistance and rebellion to doing that type of exercise. So it's like doing the exact opposite. Basically what it is, all right, well, whatever. Basically what it is the pendulum swing. So okay. This is phase one. Treating everything that you've been doing with your body, with your mind, with doing the opposite of everything. If you always run to a diet, if you always have the apps, if you always go onto the scale to monitor your weight, you got to just stop all of it. Now, there's two ways to do this, okay? The first way is baby steps, right? So this is where unconditional permission, if you hear about unconditional permission in food freedom, in intuitive eating, whatever it is, this is where this commit is, okay? So there's two ways you can do that. The first way is one thing at a time. You know, you're like, okay, well, I know I have like reservations about bread, or I have reservations about like peas. That's like one of my favorite ones. And people are like, I'm scared of peas. I'm like, well, let's work on that, because nothing wrong with peas. Whatever you have anxieties because of dieting, all the dieting rules, you can either start to pick them apart one at a time, or you can just say, screw it, eat all the things. Pros and cons to each, okay? One at a time. Yeah, bananas, exactly, same idea. One at a time, the like small steps, it feels safer. It does. You're out of control eating and feeling like you're in this free fall lasts a lot longer, because there's things that you like don't even realize you haven't addressed yet. And so as they come up, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I still have to do this thing. Or like, why am I still feeling like, you know, so rebellious or whatever. So the one at a time does work for a lot of people, and it feels like the safer, the easier way. If you have a lot of digestive issues, the one at a time, or the, you know, one or two foods, one or two diet rules at once, you know, taking little steps, like this can be really helpful, because then you're not like overwhelming your digestive tract. I personally recommend the all-in, and here's why. The all-in of eating cookies for breakfast and cookies for lunch and dinner, and, you know, getting pasta every day, and whatever your fears are, whatever your big beliefs that you can't have these things, just doing it all, like fully stopping working out, like rebelling against everything you've ever learned about dieting and weight loss, doing that all at once not only is really fun for someone like me, because I like like, as you can tell, I'm really into like encouraging and empowering the rebellious nature. But it's also quicker. And it tells your brain that you're all in, right? As opposed to straddling the fence. So one of the things that I wrote under phase one, the really big like issue, or the big thing that people run into, is not even realizing that they're straddling the fence. Okay. Like, oh no, yeah, I'm all in on food freedom, but like I'm still absolutely terrified of losing weight, and I guilt myself all the time for the things that I'm eating. Okay, but that's not all in. All in is mental. Like we've talked about in the past calls, all in is mental. All in is like working on the guilt. It's working on the rules, and letting your diet brain and your food freedom brain like duke it out in front of you. One of the other big problems that comes up in this phase is believing every thought that you've ever had. Because guess what? Your food freedom brain, aka what a lot of people end up messaging me and be like, I picture your voice. And I'm like, oh, like, okay, but like also replace it with yours. You know, I always want you to replace whatever I tell you with like your own version of it in your mind, okay? Because you need to integrate it. You need to make it make sense to you. But your food freedom brain your diet culture brain, who's usually also like your mom or your dad or like whoever taught you this stuff and taught you that you like weren't good enough, they will be battling all the time. Diet brain's gonna be like, don't eat that, don't eat that. Like, what are you doing? How could you be doing that right now? And then food freedom brain is like, no, you need to, like, this is part of the process. But then it's like, which one do you believe? Because the diet brain in this phase is a lot more persuasive. It's got a lot of practice. The food freedom brain is new, right? Imagine your brain is like a democracy and you have 100 voices in the brain. In this phase, 99 of them are going to be diet and 1 is going to be food freedom. So your job is to empower a switch, this a little seat change, if you will, right? To vote some diet people out and put some food freedom people in, okay? And what you're supposed to be learning is, 1, how to separate from diet brain and food freedom brain, okay? 2, that taking care of yourself, the voice that wants the best for you, the voice that's like, I want to take care of myself, I want to eat better, I want to do this. There's a difference between taking care of yourself and needing it to happen all right now, this second, okay? The biggest thing, what we're going to talk about tomorrow, is long-term mindset. This is not ever going to feel like what you think it's going to feel like. The biggest thing, one of the biggest mistakes that people have is they get into stage 1 and they expect that you read the intuitive eating book or whatever book you read and you're just fixed overnight. You're gonna wake up tomorrow and you're like, oh my God, I have food freedom, I'm healthy, I want to take care of myself. No, that's 3. Okay. 1 is about the free fall. It's about being okay with yourself even when you're an imperfect mess. Because guess what? You're already an imperfect mess. We all are. So this is just like facing it, right? Learning to sit with yourself. I feel like the diet brain is literally fighting to survive. Yeah. Yes. All right. But there's a difference between the diet brain and the nurturer learning how to make informed what works best for you. It's not about feeling like crap. So the nurturer, that was what I was talking about before, that voice that really wants you to like be able to actually eat healthy foods and like take care of your body without all of this resistance and rebellion and guilt and like all this stuff. That voice is going to be really, really, really hard to access or to understand and hear during phase 1, because in phase 1, it sounds a lot like diet voice is really taken over. And the difference between the voice that actually wants you to take care of your body in a certain way and diet voice is that diet voice wants you to lose weight, earn approval, earn your worth so that you're safe, okay? Self-care voice says, yeah, I'm learning how to take care of myself. And it's okay if it takes some time, because I'd rather have it take time and have it last for life, right? Do you think it's possible to shift towards intuitive exercise without taking a break from exercising? Yeah, some people do it, but also like I would question if that's actually, that's like one of those examples of straddling the fence. Always question it for yourself. You never know. But my first question when someone asks me questions like that, right, about exercise or like whatever, is still eating healthy during free fall, right? I'm always like, but why do you want to? Yeah, is the reason you can't take a break because of fear? Or is it because you actually just want to keep working out? Diet brain's like, okay, you can eat that, but make sure you count the calories. No one asked for your help, diet brain. Yeah. Sorry, struggle for sure. Okay, so I'm finding that I had to switch the type of exercise I do rather than boot camp classes I run outside, because that feels much better. Oh, one of my favorite quotes, I think Mary's Cup of Tea, if y'all follow her, said this in a YouTube video like years ago, and it really stuck with me, and it's one that I pass along a lot, is you can't heal in the same place that you got sick. So this is consistently true across phase 1 and 2, right? If you if your obsession, if your disorder was in the gym or in high intensity workouts or in, for me, it was like bland salads with just like lemon, right? You can't, like, gotta stop, full stop on the stuff that reminds you of your disorder, that keeps you in diet brain. Is it healthy to practice intuitive eating, free fall, and food freedom while still following a workout plan? I don't know for you, right? I don't know. I can't answer that. What I can say is that, one, why do you need me to tell you whether it's healthy? And two, are you actually able to follow the workout plan without guilt, shame, stress, anxiety about it, or without rebellion and resistance, right? Because if you are, if it's something that, like, because maybe there's a lot of people who exercise was never wrapped up in this. Exercise was purely like enjoyment, fun, stuff like that. And so they never have to do this process with exercise. They can just keep on exercising. A lot of us got to look at what, what's going on. Also, during this phase, you're going to realize that, like, even though the entire time you are like aggressively craving control and structure, that you also want to scream if anyone tells you what to do. So you might end up naturally rebelling against a workout plan. Um, wait, someone just said you 841. I've never diet and always rebelled, but I still hate my body and eat out of control. What would step one be? Um, Feeling guilty for being out of control. This is the phase one is working on the guilt. Okay. Phase one is working on the, I should do this, I should do that. It's getting rid of the shoulds. Okay. Is it, so if you want to ask me like specific questions, because the chat's kind of popping off right now, do the Q&A on the Zoom call, and on Facebook I'll just keep looking for questions, but do like actually the Q&A, because I can't keep up with the chat right now. Okay, so phase one, that's pretty much what it is. Now, some of the biggest challenges in addition to phase one, or in addition to everything we talked about, is why is this taking so long? Why is this not going fast enough? I'm doing it wrong. I must be doing it wrong. Why is it not working? Stop trying to control it. You don't get to decide how long this takes. You don't get to decide how painless or not this is. You don't have control over this, but you never did. You've just been avoiding it. Okay, there's a difference between control and avoiding. Avoiding is not actually control, because now what free fall is facing all the stuff that you've been avoiding dealing with kind of at once. And yeah, it sucks. It's deeply uncomfortable. But again, once you're through it, like, oh, it feels so good. So good. Okay. The other challenge is losing your identity and learning to take the power back of your mind. This can feel really resistant for a lot of people. There's a lot of emotions that come up. You're learning how to deal with emotions for maybe the first time, right? So it's scary. It's uncomfortable. I know a lot of people on Wednesday were like, I am hysterically crying and I want to run away and hide. Totally. But again, learning how to actually process your emotions instead of running away from them and avoiding them, oh, it's beautiful. That'll serve you for life. Food freedom will literally serve you for life. I always say to people, like, it's not a matter of if you go through this process, it's a matter of when. Because guess what? You don't just turn an age and all of a sudden all your problems are gone. I frequently work with people in their 50s and their 60s because it doesn't just go away. But you realize that you want more for yourself. So if you're earlier than that, or even if you're at that age, it's never too late. But also, like, what are you waiting for? Yeah, it's scary, but oh, it's so good. Okay, so phase two. When the chaos settles, you start to ground. All right, this is where you land. You're free falling. You're like, oh my god, what's going on? I don't know what's happening. I don't know anything. This is terrifying. To like, oh, I landed. Okay, I'm safe. All the limbs are intact. We're good. be on time to do it. Yes. Oh, wait, there's one question. I feel like I want the structure and the plan, but every time I try to follow one, I do exactly what you're describing, rebel and refuse to allow it. Need to reframe. Yeah, it's not a character flaw. So this is what I mean, okay? When I say that if you rebel and resist against fitting in or against like doing all these things to like do things the way that other people do it, it's because you're not meant for that life. You're meant to make up the rules. You're meant to like, go fly the other direction. You're meant to like be an entrepreneur or be a healer, be a helper. You're meant to just make waves, be like an energy creator instead of drowning in other people's energy, Is it possible to backslide? Like you thought you had healed your relationship with food, but then you started struggling again. Did I not do something right? Hi, welcome to grounding. Welcome to phase 2. Okay, so some of you who are watching this are in phase 1. Some of you who are watching this are probably approaching phase 2, if not in phase 2. I've had a lot of people do my programs who actually are starting in phase 2 and they never did the emotional healing work. And so that ends up coming up in phase 2. So when I'm talking about the different phases, like remember that all of these things can kind of like shift around depending on what's going on in your life, how much work you've done prior, stuff like that. So this isn't like set in stone. You're not doing it wrong. I will tell you this, and I'm going to say it 1,000 more times. It is not possible to fail this process. It is not possible. I don't believe in backsliding because, again, in the same way that we look at the things that we don't like as symptoms of a deeper problem, backsliding is an opportunity to learn. Backsliding, okay? It just means you got to learn the same thing because guess what happens in life? If you didn't learn the lesson the first time, you're going to keep bumping into the challenge until you learn it. How many times have you, like, for those of you who date people that are just not good for you, how many times have you dated another person, and ignored all the red flags and then been like, I'm never ignoring red flags again. And then like the next person you date, all the red flags, right? Until you learn it, you're going to keep running into the same challenge. So no, there's no such thing as backsliding. This is a lifelong journey. Yeah, that's you with shitty jobs. Exactly. That's going to be you with your mindset. That's going to be you with self-doubt. That's going to be you with wanting control. That's going to be you with like whatever it is. You're going to keep bumping into the same problem until you learn it. And so while it might feel like backsliding, struggling is, oh my gosh, hi, really? That's awesome. Sorry, we have another BU grad here. I went to BU that way. Anyway, so you're going to keep bumping into the same issues. So that's what the grounding phase is. The grounding phase is you are at this point where you're no longer free falling. You're starting to get it. It's starting to make sense. You're like, oh my gosh, I kept cookies in my house or I kept pasta in my house and I didn't want to eat it all in one sitting. This is amazing. Okay. Grounding is like actually settling into the physical freedom part of it, like your symptoms, the eating and the rebellion and resistance are starting to go away. Now, the biggest challenge in phase 2 is thinking, I'm fixed. Okay, that's it. I'm done. Thanks. Like, bye. I'm done forever. And then guess what happens? No, you're not done. And that's so deeply unsettling because when you think you're done and you're not, you start making it mean. Remember on Monday or Wednesday, I forget, we talked about making it like mean something. Also, sorry, I feel like a fuzz in my eye. So making it mean something. That if you struggle, that it means you're a failure. If you struggle, or if you run into a challenge, or you overeat again, or you're emotionally eating still, or whatever it is, that it means that it's never gonna work, that like you're not ever gonna figure this out, all this stuff. No, nope. It just means that you got to learn still. You got to keep the growth mindset open. Excuse me. So this person who asked, like, did I not do something right, not heal enough? So getting curious, oh, did I not heal enough? Probably not. You probably still have more work to do. But is it a black side? I'm sorry. Is it a backslide? Or is it you not doing something right? No, it's not a backslide. It just happens. It's part of the process. So what's happening here is the pendulum is here, but what we don't realize is that I'm trying not to draw anything that looks like a penis on this board, so hope I can successfully do that. What happens here is that we start to settle around the middle, but we're still kind of swinging back and forth. And it's easy to think that you're just never going to swing back and forth again. But actually, your body is never not in motion. Like, you're always going to be kind of hovering around a center. But the point is, instead of having these like really intense like ups and downs and ups and downs and ups, where the ups are like, I'm amazing, I'm dieting, I'm like, this is the greatest feeling ever. And the downs are like, I'm the worst, I'm horrible, da da da. We get to this, all right? Just like nice and easy fluctuations. And this life is great. So grounding is really about figuring out what you want, figuring out what your values are. This is the most challenging part of phase 2. Why are you doing this, right? Figuring out your purpose for healing your relationship with food, because there's one thing, right? One of the biggest mistakes that I see as well is people don't have a purpose. People don't have a reason to be doing this. So my purpose, and here are some of the purposes, okay? These are just some of the ones that I've seen. It doesn't necessarily mean that yours is going to be on this list. Helping others. That's one for sure. Okay, because helping others for me was like, well, if I can, I have to get through this. It doesn't matter how I feel about my body. It doesn't matter how I feel about weight gain. Because if I want to help other people, I cannot be struggling with my own internalized fat phobia. All right. I got to just figure it out. I got to work on this. Doesn't mean it happens overnight. Absolutely not. Doesn't mean I can't still coach and help people while I'm working on it. Absolutely not. You can always still be doing the things, but it's about being honest with yourself. Okay. Yes. Fulfillment. That's a great reason. This is also one of my reasons. I talk about this all the time. I would never, ever, ever be able to run my business if I was still struggling. Ever. Because, oh my gosh, I have to think about my business so much. Like, I was worrying about food in my body all the time. Yikes. And my self-worth, if I hadn't healed my self-worth, oh my gosh. You know, like, I would not be here. I would not be here teaching this. I would have gotten in my own way. I would have said, nope, it's not going to work out. No one's going to listen to me. I'm a failure. Okay. So fulfillment is a great motivator. Another motivator is activism. I kind of have like all of these in a sense. So if you are really social justice oriented, if you really care about racism and sexism and ableism and homophobia and all these things and speaking out against them, adding fat phobia to the list is an incredible motivator, because what it does is it reminds you, first of all, it naturally gets you around communities that are doing this right online. And second of all, it just reminds you like, oh yeah, there's a bigger purpose. Rebellion. This, such a good motivator for those of you who like to feel rebellious and want to lean into that. You've been trying to fit in for your whole life. And the when I say like rebel, it's so fun. And yes. Generational cycles. This is something I was literally just talking about with a client today. One of her motivators is not passing. Oh, she's right there. She's in the chat. One of her motivators is not passing it on to kids, to break the generational cycles. Okay. This is such a strong one for those of you who really care about having a family one day, and you know how you grew up, you know, like, yeah, representation. I love that. That kind of goes with activism, but I'll write it up here. And of course, we're running out of time. I got so hyped. But we're going to stay over a little bit. Yeah, you're a performer. So there's more than this, okay? One of the ways that you can find out what your values are look around at the things you actually like in your life. Now, the problem with, the difficulty with trying to figure out your drive, your purpose, your why too early is you might not know what you like and what you do because people have told you to do it. Okay. So it helps to just start writing down all the things that you like to do. Um, and stability, absolutely, that can be a motivator. Yeah. Whatever it is, on the days of this journey, whether it's phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3, because there's always going to be hard days, what gets you through it? That's what figuring out your why is. What gets you through the hardest days? What's the thing that you can say in your head that's like, this is why I'm doing it? For me, it was being able to run my business and work with clients, help them with this. Okay. It's like, oh, I don't care. This is bigger than me. This isn't about my body. This isn't about how I feel about it. This is bigger than me. This is about not participating in this system anymore. This might be counterproductive, but can it be feeling great and living as long as I can for my daughter? Yeah, no, a lot of people have that motivation as well. Exactly. Okay, let's move on to phase 3 really quick. I'm not going to talk much about phase 3, but what I will say is that phase 3, the rebuilding, is usually like the biggest mistake. One of the biggest mistakes is thinking that what happens in phase 3 is going to happen in phase 1, and it's not. This is the stuff. This is learning how you actually want to eat for your body, learning how you actually want to move again. You've healed a lot of the rebellion and the resistance, so now you can start to go back to the gym or go back to high intensity training if you want. You can, start to like eat salads without wanting to cry. This is like I couldn't eat salads for like a year, and now it's not an issue. Okay. So it's smoothies were a big thing. I couldn't do smoothies for such a long time. And finally one day I was like, okay, smoothies are safe. They're not a diet food, right? That I can have a smoothie because they're delicious. So it's about figuring out what you actually like and want in your life, but you've got to get through the rebellion first. You've got to be okay with your body and let go of control, not in love with your body. Tolerate it, right? Like you've got to get through the resistance, the rebellion, the diet stuff, the confusion, and letting go of control in order to figure out what you actually want, your values. That's what this is all about. Aligning with your values. So that's the rebuild phase. It's putting it back together. It's figuring out what you like, what you want, what you want to do with your life. This is also boundaries. Okay, I'll answer that in a second. This is also where boundaries come in, right? You start to get in phase 2, you start to get real angry at people talking about diets around you. And so in phase 2, one of the things you got to work on is 1, calm down the anger, and 2, understanding where that anger is coming from and letting go of the need to control other people in the way that they talk about it. Yeah, I understand how a lot of how to challenge food stuff. How do you directly challenge body stuff? I mean, I can't possibly tell you this in the webinar, but what I can say is that the stuff we've been talking about healing the trauma of feeling like you're not good enough or that you need to change your body, and healing the trauma of stigma, and healing the trauma of just everything that's like associated with your weight is a very long process. Okay. And there's gonna be multiple stages of it. This isn't just overnight done. So there's a lot to it. And part of it is like, start with representation, start with the people that you follow on social media, start reading books, start reading books from people who are fat. So you can understand like different perspectives, different approaches. Like the best thing that you can do for body stuff is to inundate yourself with other people's perspectives. But not rules, not rules, perspectives. Okay. Do people get to phase 3 and swing back and forth between phases? There's going to be days, of course, that you feel like it. But again, part of phase 2 is like learning how to use it for your healing and your growth and not falling victim to it. And there are going to be days when you fully buy into it. And you know what? Just like go to bed, wake up tomorrow, see how you feel. Email me. So in terms of, okay, so I wasn't going to do this right this second, but I feel like a lot of the Yeah, going to bed is the human version of turning it off and on. Yeah. I'm going to answer the questions in a second. So, I do have a group program. I also have like 2 one-on-one spots open. Like I said, I'm going to be closing down my one-on-ones pretty soon here, but I have a couple one-on-one spots open. But I do have a group program for you all. Now, this is something that I've been running. It's going to be the only time that I run it this year. It's called Food Freedom for Life, and it's suitable for anyone who's in phase 1 or phase 2. Okay. The reason why phase 2, I would say the program is a great idea, is because phase 2, I've had people join the program at phase 2 and they use it for the emotional part, whereas phase 1, you probably are spending a lot of the program in phase 1, which is awesome because you're being supported through the free fall, but you'll still have to like continue your journey. Yeah, I'll still do the group coaching calls in Club TYB, but this program, what it is basically me holding your hand through every step of the process and like taking you on a whole thing. So I'm going to actually talk about that at the end of the call tomorrow. Don't worry, tomorrow is still like mindset stuff. But I'm going to like tell you all about the program tomorrow, but it's essentially like taking you through this, doing the emotional healing work, like journaling prompts and figuring out, you know, what kind of stuff, what beliefs, and doing the mindset work. That's what I do in this group program, is really go deep on the mindset and the emotional work to help you through these phases, while also giving you the like very basic, like, here's how you get rid of diet culture in your brain. And like, here's, you know, the kind of basic, like fundamental stuff that you also could learn like online. I'll give it all to you, but I'm really going to be helping you and holding you through every phase of it. It's a 4-month group program. I'm going to send out the information after this. The reason why I'm bringing it up right now is because I am, in light of everything that's going on in the world, in light of, you know, I understand like financial restrictions, and also like y'all took so many hours out of your week to hang out with me, to show up for these calls, to show up for yourself, right? Not to show up for me, but to show up for you. I'm offering like a really, really, really big discount on this group program that literally only is available till tomorrow night, because I open the cart or open enrollment to the public on Sunday. Okay. So until tomorrow night, you can get 30% off this program, which is like, I've never done a discount like this. So I'm going to send out all the information. If you have questions, just email me. You can reply to any of the emails. I'll also answer questions in the Facebook group. And yeah, check out the information. I'm going to tell you more about it in tomorrow's call. I'd highly recommend it, just because, again, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And if you're feeling like motivated and inspired and excited by everything that I talk about, like imagine that for 4 months, right? We're going deep. Like we're going like way, way, way under the surface. And this work will literally help you for the rest of your life. Like it'll keep coming up. So yeah, that's an option. And again, discounts. I'm going to talk more about the program tomorrow. There's kind of 2 levels of support you can join if you just want to like get the content, the info, and the journaling prompts and stuff. There's one level that's way cheaper, and then there's like an all-in option, which is essentially like more one-on-one time, more group coaching time, and like text. You can text me in between calls and stuff for 4 months. So there's 2 options. If you have questions about which option, send me an email, DM me on Facebook, whatever it is, and I will send out all the information. I said that like 6 times. Yeah, so that's what's going on. One of the things, I kind of mentioned a bunch of the mistakes. I wrote them on the notes as well. One of the mistakes that I see is that a lot of us who learn to be self-sufficient as a way to cope with not having our needs met as kids, we end up thinking that we have to go through this whole process alone and that you have to do it by yourself. And while you definitely can, right? You could read all the books, you could listen to my entire podcast, you could be in Club TYB. If like, for whatever reason, you just want to do Club TYB and try to do it all on your own, you definitely can. It's way more fun and way more effective to do it in a group. And I'm going to get you through the difficult parts of it quickly. Okay. And you're going to have the tools to continue on this journey, because I'm not going to pretend like a 4-month program is going to fix you. And this program is not for anyone who wants to get fixed overnight, because I can't give you that. Like I can't do that. What I can do is set you up to be on the journey by yourself, to not need me. So I don't want you to need me. I want you to be able to like help yourself, coach yourself. So I'm going to teach you how to coach yourself. And I'm going to teach you how to help yourself through the difficult phases, because that's what you're supposed to be learning in this whole process. How to take care of yourself, but also like how to ask for help. So that's the whole thing. I'll send out all the information, including the discount codes, after this recording. Let me open the Q&A. Okay, someone asked me a while ago, what do I mean by bailing out? How do you know you've done that and have to start phase one again? So you don't ever have to like start phase one again, in the sense, like it's not linear. Healing is not actually linear. You kind of like go up and down, back and forth between all, it's like a dance, like you're dancing back and forth. No, there's no limit on the number of people, but there will be a limit if you like, if you want the all-in option, the option with like small group calls and one-on-one support from me, there will be a limit on the number of people who join that version. But in the just general like food freedom, there will not be a limit. It's a really fun experience. I have at least one person in here who took, you probably were looking at the wrong page. I'm going to send out the page because I just finished it. Like, okay. So if you bail out, what it means is that you go back to dieting, right? Basically, you're in the free fall and you're like, no, I can't do this. I'm going back to dieting. I don't believe that that's actually bailing out, right? I don't believe that you have to start over. Maybe that's part of your journey. Something I tell people all the time who I talk to who are like, I know about intuitive eating, food freedom, I just can't do it yet, like for whatever reason. And it's a very like sad, I just can't do it, but it's just, it is what it is. I don't consider that bailing out. It's part of your journey. Like your journey is unfolding in perfect timing. So if you got to go on another diet again after learning all of this, then go on another diet. Because I would rather you do this when you're willing to jump all in than do this and be like, but what about Noom? Like, I just want to go try Noom first, you know? Go try Noom, go try whatever. I'll be here. I'll be waiting. Although in terms of the group program, this is the last time I'm doing it this year, so. And for the group program also, this is the last time I'm actually going to teach it live. Next year, I'm having colleagues do coaching and I'm pre-recording all the calls. So this is the last time I'm teaching it live, and it's the last time this year. And it's the last time that I'm doing all of the coaching. So if you want me specifically, like now's the time. I've never dieted and always rebelled, but I still hate my body and eat out of control. What would step one be? Oh, I think I answered this before, but it would be like getting rid of the guilt and stop judging yourself for eating out of control, right? And looking closely at like what diet rules are you following, even though you've never consciously dieted. A lot of people who have like never dieted have actually been following diet culture rules because they are everywhere. Like you cannot escape diet culture rules. How many people are in a group at a time? So I'm gonna explain more of this tomorrow, but it's essentially like I teach live webinars kind of like this where y'all are just watching and it's recording. And then I have group Q&A calls and the Facebook group. So that's like the basic plan. If you just want to join, get the information, get the support in the Facebook group, or you know, the support in the Q&A calls, it's just like we'll do hot seat coaching in the Q&A calls, we'll do all that. And then in the all-in option, it's much smaller group coaching calls. So like 4 people maximum or like 6 people for a single call time. And you're getting like, you know, 20 minutes with me or 15 minutes every call to talk things out. Yeah, the Facebook group from this session will stay open, and I'm going to send out all the recordings, all the information afterwards. Okay. I got self-conscious at the idea of going all in front of my partner, especially since I live with him. They're very supportive, but I get self-conscious. Okay, so one of the things that comes in this section is like learning how to talk to the people in your life who maybe won't understand. Yeah, learning how to talk to people and be like, hey, I know you're not going to understand this right now, but I need to eat all the food and it's just part of the process and I need to work through it. That can be really hard. So boundary setting and communication skills and dealing with the fear of rejection are things that we heavily focus on in Food Freedom for Life. Will the scholarship program apply for the 4-month program? So, oh, like applying for a scholarship? If you are interested in a scholarship, email me because I'm open to like opening up some spots, but because I'm giving this huge discount, I'm definitely limiting, I'll do like maybe 2 or 3 scholarship people, depending on like how much, right? How many people are joining and whatever. But yeah, this discount is huge. So you'll be able to see all the information in the email after. Yes, my fear is that my husband will not love me if I give up and try to, well, if you give up dieting for your mental health and your husband doesn't love you, like he his love was based on the fact that you diet, like that's ugh. Like glad you found out, that's how I see it. Glad you found out. All right. Is it unethical to watch workout videos on YouTube if they have some dietish phrases? No, it's not unethical. Nothing is unethical, right? Nothing. The only thing that's unethical is if you are working as like a therapist or a health coach or something like that, and you are promising people weight loss when you cannot cash in on that promise. That's unethical. But watching a workout video that has diet language in it, I mean, it's really hard to find workout videos that don't. So will it be super triggering? Probably at the beginning, but it gets easier. Now I can do it, but I don't like it. Like I'll leave a workout class. If they start talking about like shredding fat or whatever, I'm just like, oh, I roll my eyes and leave. Okay. How to deal with parental control and prevent myself from outburst. Just some words of wisdom, a word of advice. You will probably have outbursts at the beginning while you're learning how to communicate, while you're learning how to talk about this stuff. Like you might have outbursts. So yeah, I did it. I lashed out, and then you learn to talk about it. You know when you do the thing where you say things that you instantly regret and then you obsess about it for a week? Well, that actually is a gift because it's teaching you how to talk about it in the future. And you just got to forgive yourself because you're learning. So sometimes you're going to have some outbursts. When you are triggered by something, look closely at why. What is it causing inside of you? I get super animated about talking to my husband. He just sort of stares at me like, what? Yeah. Is fasting for health a diet? It feels like it. If you're a woman, if you need your estrogen to be at a high level, fasting, not a great idea. Now, I have worked with people who participate in Ramadan. And for some reason, because of values, I think, participating in Ramadan, fasting for Ramadan was actually okay and didn't feel like restriction or triggering dieting because it was in alignment with her values. Your brain knows, your body knows when you're lying. Your body knows. You're like, no, I'm not eating the salad because of diet culture. I'm eating it because I want to. And secretly you're like, hope I lose weight. Body knows. It can sense the bullshit because it knows your true intentions. That's why process is so important, to actually work through that so you can separate from it and really feel what it means to be aligned with your values. A year after giving up dieting, I feel that my habits are intuitive, but I still have a lot of guilt and rebellion, especially if people close to me are changing their bodies through diet and exercise. I think it's super understandable that you like feel anxiety when people around you are changing their bodies. It's just part of it. Like I still have those moments too, but again, there's a difference between like having that anxiety and the thoughts flare up and then actually acting on them and believing them. The guilt and rebellion, on the other hand, I think is really the bigger thing to look at and try to work through. I've been going through phase 1 and 2 for the last year and I can't seem to move past it. I know it's just deep down I want to be in a smaller body. Yeah. So you can still want to be in a smaller body and not let it hold you back, because I definitely question if you're ever, especially if you're in a bigger body, if you're ever going to get to this place where you like, I don't ever want to be skinny. Like, I don't need it. but you don't need to betray yourself. You don't need to restrict yourself or shame yourself or blame yourself because of your body size. There's a difference, different energies. Yeah, if your partner loves you when they see how better food freedom is, yeah, exactly. They will understand. Okay, now we're talking about cool. The other day I asked, how do you stop the is there a way to stop binge eating without activating restricting mentality? Okay, yeah. So, I mean, that's down to experimentation. Like, I don't know, you tell me is my answer. Okay? Because if you have the restriction mentality, if you have like if you're trying to stop the binge and like breathe through it, a lot of people talk about that because of like weight loss or because you feel guilty or because you're like, no, not again. You're like lashing yourself the entire time, like mentally for the fact that you're binging. Good luck, basically. Like good luck with that approach. Do I think that you can get to a place where you can breathe through binge urges if you've done some of the preliminary healing? Yeah. But that's the difference between like detaching from the outcome of what it's going to be. Like if you end up binging, you end up binging. And you have to get to a point where you just are able to accept that or at least like not feel so guilty about it because it happens, right? It's not a moral flaw. It's not something that you should punish yourself for. When do you relearn what hunger feels like? Right, I forgot to talk about that. Okay, um, not here. You're not gonna know what your hunger feels like. That's another big mistake that I see people make is they expect that when they start intuitive eating, they're supposed to just. But it's like I have people all the time be like, "Oh, but I'm not hungry. When am I like? I don't want to eat because I'm not hungry, or I want to eat all the food, but I'm not even hungry. Like, am I supposed to be forcing myself to eat when I'm not even hungry?" You do want to eat consistently. I talked about this a little on Wednesday because the way to get your hunger and fullness signals back is eating consistently and letting your body know that you're safe and you're going to get enough food. And it feels uncomfortable, totally feels uncomfortable. I get that. And it starts to make sense. If you're in Club TYB, I have a whole like hunger and fullness thing that you can look at. How to open up to parents and close people. Open up to the people that you have to the that you want to, and then wait to fully open up until you're okay with whatever their response is. The hardest thing about opening up to people is their potential response. So if you're still hoping that they're going to respond in a way, or if you're expecting that they're going to respond in a way of like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you, here's all my approval, you're going to be really, really disappointed. And it's going to be very traumatizing and upsetting. So open up to the people who you know for a fact are safe, or um, set boundaries without getting specific. Like, I need you to just not comment on my food right now. You don't have to tell your parents, like, it's because I'm healing my relationship with food and I'm never going to diet again. Get to a point where you're more emotionally stable in yourself, where you're more confident in what you're doing, and you don't need their validation and approval to be okay. And then those conversations go a lot easier. They're a lot more painless. Okay. Because, yeah. If I'm prone to high blood pressure and have had readings of high blood pressure, how I work with unconditional permission in terms of healing, but also ensuring my body is safe. Um, that's kind of like those delicate balances. I mean, for starters, I would try the go in slow. Also, I'll talk about that in a second, the fullness. Also, remembering that stress really affects high blood pressure, and high blood pressure in people in bigger bodies actually tends to be protective and not problematic. Like when you actually look at the research, and one of the studies that I included on Wednesday's notes, high blood pressure is actually protective if you're in a bigger body. So um, it's kind of like this removing the judgment and the guilt about that as well is going to be really important. But then also like working on the stress, introducing food slowly if you feel like that is like feels better for you, your health. Okay. And this is also where you can start introducing values driven decisions and behaviors a lot earlier. Right when I started phase one, my mom gave up all sugar. They do that. How would you recommend asking her not to include me, but still being supportive to her? Mom, I'm so happy for you. It sounds like this whole cutting out sugar thing is really working for you. I'm happy for you. I don't really want to talk about it though. Is that okay? Can you talk about it with your friends? And if she's like, no, then you double down. Okay. Oh, fullness. That's another thing with free fall is the point of this is not to force yourself to stop eating when you're full. The point of this is to allow your body to do that naturally, because if you try to force yourself to stop eating every time you're full, it's going to feel like restriction, it's going to feel like you're a failure, and it doesn't work. This 100% of the time comes naturally when you're eating consistently and working on healing your relationship with food and giving yourself permission to be out of control. That part comes naturally. So don't focus on the fullness. I promise you, it will come naturally if you're doing all the other stuff mentally and physically. Okay. And I know that's not a great answer, but it is what it is. I used to actually really like feeling over full, and I just recently realized I don't like the feeling anymore. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. When you start to separate the emotional trauma and the coping from eating and all this stuff, like, all of the secrecy and the shame, that comfort that you used to get from being like over full from binging or emotional eating, it's not that comfortable. What about forcing yourself to eat more because you aren't eating enough? That's something that you do have to actually do. That's one of the ironies, is like you might feel like you're forcing yourself to eat at the beginning if you're really under eating or you're not eating consistently. It might feel like force, and it's uncomfortable. You might get GI issues, you might get bloating, it's not, people who recover from anorexia, have the most aggressive GI issues, and it's so difficult to refeed, and you just got to do it. Um, yeah, I feel like I don't know what enough food is. Yeah, that's part of the problem, right? Um, that's part of the problem for diet culture. Diet culture like convinces us that the food that we feed a child is enough food. It's not. It's not food. Enough food for adult human beings. Intermittent fasting, not enough food for adult human beings. Is there a website or other where I can find valid medical studies on intuitive eating? Because a lot of the information, other studies I find, is the bias. So I think you mean intuitive eating itself has like 100+ studies, like the actual book. It's been used in like countless programs and stuff and studied that way. So you can just look up on the intuitive eating website. In terms of health every size, I did include like a bunch of preliminary research on the notes from Wednesday. So go look at those. Outside of that, I would just start searching around. Again, Fiona Wheeler is incredible. I think I linked to her on the resources, but she's doing a lot of this research and talking about it. Okay, that's it. We need to stop. I'm going to send out the group program page. Email me if you have questions or ask in the Facebook group. Excuse me. And I will see you tomorrow. Please come tomorrow. We're talking about mindset stuff. It's going to be a really great class. You're not going to want to miss it. You're going to get a lot out of it. And have a great night. Drink your wine, drink your margaritas. I'm going to send out all that information now. Bye. Aw. I love you all. This is so fun. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.